Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture, the Stormybman, for this Monday, July 17th, 2023. And this is number 49 in our series of Nerds on Culture shows. And this evening, we got a special treat for you as we reminisce and look back on the phenomenon that was the Japanese manga anime Fist of the North Star. This was a series that had a post-apocalyptic story driven by humanity and martial arts and plenty of violence. And as we reflect on this particular special piece, we want to keep in mind that when these shows came about, the artists that created these works were venturing out in a way, and they would put subliminal messages for everyday and modern society in what they did, because sometimes, as with Western animations, you can get away with putting messages out there to the masses behind cartoon animation type fare. There were people who were wise enough to look at it and say, hey, wait, are they trying to say, and then there were people where they just sat there mesmerized by the artwork, the entertainment, the jokes, or whatever that went across the screen. So there was so much happening, and this spawned a lot of other fare that would come down the pipeline as well. So as we get ready to talk about this series and movie, allow me to introduce my co-host of the show. We got Drew Titan in the building. What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Man. Man. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love this right here. I was ready for this one, man.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to this one. Oh,
Yeah,
man. Where do I begin? You pretty much laid the groundwork for what we're going to talk about tonight. But I got to tell you, I was already intrigued and fascinated with Japanimation. Gigantor, I think that was the first one I've seen. And Gigantor was in black and white, and it stood out. It was different from the regular Saturday morning cartoons I was used to watching, because the animation was a little different, and it was intriguing. It was just different. It was fascinating. It wasn't used to what we would see. We were used to seeing that. You knew there was a difference between that style of artwork and American artwork. Another thing that I noticed was it was pretty grim. I noticed certain things. One of the things that I noticed as a kid, watching Gigantor, he would fight a robot, and there'd be a guy in there, controlling the robot, and then Gigantor would beat him, and the robot would blow up. And then it's like, hey, Gigantor won. And I'd be sitting there like, what about the guy that was controlling the damn robot? He's dead. And you guys got to understand, you guys are a little young. You guys are a little younger than us. That was kind of taboo in the 70s. And in the 80s, it was taboo. It's like the mad scientist was in that robot and he just blew up. And everyone's celebrating, and then the episode ends, and you're like, wait a minute. That guy's dead, man. And it's like, wow. Later on in the 80s, G.I. Joe. You notice how they be running through a hail of lasers. No one gets shot. No one gets killed. And it's like, how does that happen? Every time they shot a Cobra jet out the air, you see the parachute. And it's like, okay, so they're making sure they're not catching bodies here. You understand? So I noticed Another animation that caught my eye after Gigantor, Battle of the Planets, they called it here, but we called it G-Force, Gaicha Man in Japan. And if you go back and watch those old episodes, they were killing people in that episodes. And you're like, wait a minute, it was different, but I noticed it was the same style of animation. Mazinga, all of those, and I noticed Japanimation was very, very different. That's the point. Even Speed Racer was a little violent. When you watched it, it was a little violent. I said, wow. So I became a fan of Japanimation. So sometime in the 80s, I was watching one of these. We had just got cable. It was like it was the newest thing. No, you know what, Stormy? No. Y'all remember UHF channels on your black and white TV with the coat hanger? And so I'm turning to UHF channels, and I see this cartoon, and it was fuzzy as hell. And I'm looking at it like, what the hell is that? And I see Kenshiro. That's him. There you go. I see this guy in black and white. Super Diesel. He got those scars on his chest. I'll get to that in a second. Umaidamu. That's what he used to say. You're already dead. And this guy was badass. He had the bushy brows. He obviously had a Japanese look. And I'm watching the cartoon. I didn't understand the word. Here's what's funny. When I first saw it, it was in Spanish. I'm watching it on the UHF channel, right? And I'm like, well, what's going on? And I'm watching it. Next thing you know, he gets into a fight. So he beats up these guys, and they're all standing there, and then he stops. And I was like, what are you doing, whatever? He turns his back, and he says something. And then these guys start exploding. Their heads blow up, their arms blow up. I'm like, whoa, what is this? What is this? And then it goes to a commercial. Fist of the North Star. I wrote it down. This was like 1984, 85. I was like 9 or 10 years old. I said, yo, what is this? And no, I'm sorry. It was like around 86. It was around 86. I might have been about 11 or 12 years old. And I said, what the hell is this? And I was looking for it. Mind you guys, you had to do real research back then. There was no internet. So I'm like looking in like newspapers and toys and trying to, you remember the TV magazine? I had to look in it, couldn't find it. I didn't know what it was until my dad and I and my brother, we're down in Chinatown, Christmas shopping, right? And in Chinatown in New York, you can find things down there that are I don't want to say off-brand, but you'll get the same toy with different writing on it, but it's the same toy. So this was the year Voltron came out, right? So we're down in Chinatown, right? We couldn't find Voltron anywhere. And we found it in Chinatown. Matchbox bought the rights and they were selling it here. But we found it in Chinatown in the original box with the original Japanese writing on it. Same thing. So we bought it. My dad must have paid like $120. $120 for a goddamn Voltron toy back then was a lot of money, but whatever. So we was walking around Chinatown, right? Went into this Chinatown to go eat. See this model of Kenshiro. I said, whoa, that's the guy. My brother said, yeah, that's from the cartoon we saw. And I'm reading it and I'm talking to the Asian guy. I said, who is this? He said, oh, that's Fist of the North Star. That's Kenshiro. And he starts educating us about what the cartoon is. My father said, look, when we're going to go in here, we're going to go eat. And I kept staring at it and staring at it and staring at it. When we leave, and he had this, it was a statue of this guy, Kenshiro, and all the other characters and other characters, and I didn't even know their names. Well, years later, right? We done had cable or whatever. I'm looking now. I'm able to travel to Chinatown by myself, right? And every time I went down there, I saw a new model, right? And I'm like, well, who's this? Who's this? Yeah, there you go. All of those guys there, right? I'm like, well, who are these guys? So I started getting an education on who the guys were, right? And then I found that there was a cartoon, there was a comic book, which they call manga, right? I didn't read all of the manga, but then I found out that in '86 there was the TV series, and then I found it in English, right? A couple of years later, they started airing it on something called Action Network, and they played all the episodes. Now I'm very familiar with the story because what they did do is they released a movie that compressed the whole story into I think a 2-hour film. And it's a safe watch because it doesn't bend or break anything, but they leave out a lot of key characters that he meets in between. So you can watch the movie and still get a gist of what the actual animation is about. But if you want to see all the characters and stories in between, you gotta watch the damn series, man. Because this guy Kenshiro, he's iconic. You know what I'm saying? I see Tay Jones in the building. Yeah, man. We're gonna get to that. But this series right here, man, is something else. I'm looking at all of these characters on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side, man. And everyone had a damn story, and it's great. It's great. We can't even cover a majority of it. But this guy has manga, what they call OVA series, which is a prequel. Named Rao. He's supposed to be the successor. Let me read to you guys what Fist of the North Star is about. They call it Hokuto no Ken. All right. Fist of the Big Dipper, which is the scars on his chest. And I'll get to how he got that in a second. It's a Japanese manga series written by Borun-san and illustrated by Tetsuo Hara. It was series, or I say this name, Shueisei's Showing Manga Magazine Weekly Jump for about 245 issues published from 1983 to 1988. Okay, so this is an old series and initially collected in 27 volumes under the Jump comic imprint, set in a post-apocalyptic Earth after a nuclear war. Now, let me stop right there for a moment. If you look at this gear, and now that you know it's post-apocalyptic, this has Mad Max written all over it, but on a martial arts level. So this is post-apocalyptic. There's a lot of like weird characters in there, giant characters in there. You know, it's crazy. All right. The story centers on a warrior named Kenshiro, the successor of the deadly martial art known as Hokuto Shinken. All right. It gives him the ability to kill his opponents by striking their secret vital points, which often results in an exceptionally violent and gory death. Kenshiro dedicates his life to fighting against the various gangs, bandits, and warlords who threaten the lives of defenseless, innocent people, and as well as rival martial artists. So what happens is, in this apocalyptic wasteland, the best martial artists, they rise to prominence, and they develop like communities and gangs. And the legendary Fist of the North Star, he's supposed to be the top dog. So what he's going around and what he's doing is he's just protecting the weak, right? But there's a problem though. There's a problem, and I'll get to that in a second. All right. I'm reading it on Wikipedia. It was an anime television series produced by Toei Animation from 84 to 88, compromising combined a total of 152 episodes. Okay, let me get to the plot. Okay, nuclear war happened sometime in the 90s. This story was it took place in the 80s, so the 90s seemed far off, but close enough to scare people. And it resulted in the destruction of human civilization, turning the world into a desert wasteland. All right. Kenshiro is a successor of Hokuto no Ken, Hokuto Shinken, and ancient martial arts assassin, and trains its practitioners to kill opponents from the inside out. Okay. Kenshiro wishes to live his life in peace, but after he's separated from his fiancee Yuria by a jealous rival, his rival was his best friend. It's crazy, right? They fighting over a chick, y'all. Okay, go figure. All right. Yuria was his fiance. He's separated by his rival. His rival's name is Shin. Blonde hair, blue eyed, European looking dude. He begins his journey to become the savior of the post-apocalyptic world, defending the weak from the innocent. Okay. Here's the problem. Rival assassins art that ended up splitting into two factions after the nuclear war, as well as his own brothers of Hokuto who trained alongside him in the succession of Hokuto Shinken. Kenshiro's ultimate nemesis ends up becoming his eldest brother, Rao, who you see in the picture standing right next to him. Yeah, that big mofo in the previous picture. All right, now, right here, these characters right here that you see on the screen, right? Those are allies. Those are his brothers. And, oh, man, there's just so much going on this picture. There's so much going on. Salute to Todd French in that super chat. He said, the most bloodiest anime known to man. This was brutal. This was brutal. This was brutal. All of these guys right here, right? They have a separate story. It is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. That's why the animation, the movie, didn't do it much justice. Now let me talk about his rival, the guy right there in the purple. That's Shin. That was supposed to be his best friend. And what happened was, he has a brother named Kenshiro has a brother named Jagi, right? And what Jagi did was he got in Shin's head some way and made him. Now Shin already loved Yuria, but Yuria was with Kenshiro, and Jagi, the hater that he is, amped up Shin and made them fight. And Shin beat him. Shin beat Kenshiro, and Shin has another martial art called Southern Cross. He comes from Southern Cross, and they're from the outside cutting in. Hokuto is from the inside out. So Shin beats him. He cuts Kenshiro up. The officers pick him up. His soldiers. And you see that scar, the Big Dipper on Kenshiro's body? What Shin does is he takes his finger and he starts stabbing him with his finger, because that's how strong his fingers are. So he's stabbing him. He puts in the Big Dipper on his body and leaves him there for dead. Well, obviously he didn't die. He recuperates, and he goes on and starts whooping ass. And he has a rematch with Shin. But, I don't want to ruin it for y'all. All right, I'm looking at these pictures, man. And listen, the movies are good, but I recommend the series. And they also remade the series with updated animation. But, I'm old school, right? Kenshiro had 3 brothers, right? And it was Rao, who's the oldest. Jagi, who was an asshole who liked to cheat. He played with guns and needles and stuff. And Toki, who was a healer, right? He used Hokuto he didn't want to be the successor, but he became a healer. You know what I mean? All of these pictures, this right here is a picture this is the poster from the actual movie, which is, like I said, which is pretty good. I recommend the movie, but I would like for you guys, if you can find the episodes, they probably right here on YouTube. Watch the episodes. Watch the episodes, man. They're great, man. The characters are just ridiculous, man. But let me go back to right here. Let me see, because I'm on Wikipedia reading this. His brother Rao, a warrior who broke the law in Hokuto Shinken by refusing his fist. He refused to allow his fist to be sealed, and he killed Master Ryukin, who was training all 4 of the brothers. Right? Rao was supposed to be the successor. But once Ryo broke the rules, it became Kenshiro. So Ryo's actually he's the real badass. But what he wants to do, he wants to conquer the post-apocalyptic world as a warlord under the mantle Ken-O, which meant the king of the fist. And he was challenging every martial artist along the land. That's why I said you can't sum this up in one movie. You have to watch the episodes because the characters are some of the most creative things that I've ever seen for its time. This was one of the most creative things that I've seen for its time. You got to understand, I saw this in the 80s, man. And what intrigued me was I saw one episode in black and white. And then the next time I saw it was a couple of years later, I saw a statue of him. And then I saw many other statues of characters from this anime. Now look at this picture right here. Imagine just seeing, like, I'm a comic book buff. I like models and stuff. If you follow Bear Cave, my boy has a bunch of models and of things, and he collects these things. And these things, they always caught my eye. I'm a big kid at heart, but this is also it's a hobby of mine. And all of these characters have like models and busts from the waist up, you know. And this is just fascinating to me. This is just fascinating, and this is instrumental in my childhood, man. Very instrumental growing up, even in my young adulthood, man. Young adulthood. Let me take y'all through a bit of the story. For example, he fights Shin. Shin was like the guy in Southern Cross, or so he thought. And he's fighting over, that's Yuria right there next to him. Yuria, oh man, there's so much to discuss. I think she ended up, if I remember correctly, she ended up committing suicide. She ended up committing suicide. She fell off a building or something crazy like that. But real quick, Kenshiro's fighting style. Kenshiro's fighting style is like Batman's utility belt. Now, why do I say that? You ever notice that Batman got something in that belt for every situation? He falls under the water, he has a bat air pill, and he'll chew on the pill and have air for like 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? He got beef with Superman, he got kryptonite in a pouch somewhere. Well, that's Kenshiro. He literally fought a guy named Amoeba. Now, this was the funniest goddamn thing I could ever think of. He fought a guy named Amoeba. That was his name. And what Amoeba was doing, Kenshiro was looking for his missing brother Toki, who looked like Jesus. He looked like Jesus, right? He was dressed in white. He had white hair. He had a beard. And he used Hokuto. He didn't want to be the successor, but he used Hokuto to repair people, to fix people, to make people healthy, right? Amoeba tried to copy his style, but he was using it for reverse. So when he heard his brother was in this village creating chaos, Kenshiro came to the village and thought it was his brother, but it was really Amoeba. So he fought Amoeba and he poked him somewhere on his neck or something with his fingers. And Amoeba starts walking backwards. And he was like, "Yo, I can't control my body. What did you do to me?" And it was like a Hokuto pace death. And this motherfucker walked off a goddamn cliff and he couldn't control his body. It was the funniest thing I ever saw. But that's what he had. There's like so many nerves in your body, and he knows all of them. He could like touch you on your pinky toe, and your whole leg will blow up. I mean, that's how precise this martial art is. Now, the guy on his left is named Ray. His sister got kidnapped he thought his sister was kidnapped by Kenshiro. And it wasn't him, it was really his brother Jaggy. Right? Jaggy, what he did when he thought Kenshiro died, he put the big dimple scars on his chest. He ran around, thought the picture of him versus Rao at the end of the film. He fought his brother. And I leave that up there. I'm gonna get to that in a second. So he ends up fighting Jaggy, and Jaggy fought Kenshiro before they left the temple. And I know I'm jumping around here, but just try and follow me. And Jaggy Kenshiro left him severely disfigured. They fought, and Kenshiro got the better of him, and he almost like blew up. But he was able to counter it by touching the vital points to stop him from exploding. But he had to like keep his skull in place with like 10 plates, and he wore a mask, so people didn't know that wasn't Kenshiro. You understand? So he was creating chaos when he thought his brother was dead. So when he came back to life, well, you know, he wasn't dead in the first place. He found Jaggi. He ended up killing him too. So he killed him, right? So Ray thought that Kenshiro kidnapped his sister when it was really Jaggi. So him and Ray fight. Now Ray also fights in the Southern Cross style, but it was called Southern Cross Swan, right? But he figured out that, you know, he didn't kidnap his sister or whatever, so he got his sister back. So they end up becoming allies. Now this scene right here, that was at the end of the movie Fist of the North Star. Now, Rao, there's two endings to this. In the American ending, they fought to a draw, and Rao just walks off and says, all right, you know, you got it, or whatever. He walks off. In the Japanese version, he beat Kenshiro. He beat him and knocked him unconscious, but there's two kids that actually that Kenshiro befriends, and he protects them. I believe the kid's name is Bat, and the girl's name is Lin. And whenever Lin was in trouble, she would scream his name, and no matter where he's at, he would hear it. And the cool part about Ken is that when he gets so pissed off, he always breaks out of his leather jacket. And the ongoing joke is every episode he breaks out the damn jacket, but where does he get these new goddamn leather jackets from? It's the funniest goddamn thing, right? But let me tell you one of the most creative characters in the Fist of the North Star series. It was a guy named Souther. And Souther he turned out that other martial art called Southern Cross. Souther was like the strongest one in Southern Cross. Rao didn't even fight him for whatever reason. I forgot, but he knew he couldn't see him. But Kenshiro fought him, and Souther kicked his ass really bad, almost killed him. Kenshiro was hitting him in the vital points, and nothing was working. He was like, Kenshiro has a move where he'll touch you, and he'll count down from 10, and then he'll say you're already dead, and then your head will blow up or something. Well, it didn't work on Souther. He kept laughing at him. He's like, well, why is nothing working on it? And he kicked Kenshiro's ass, and he couldn't beat him at first. Come to find out, Souther had a real medical condition, and I forgot what it's called. Stormy, if you can you look it up? The medical condition that people, I don't know how many, I think like 1 out of like 80 people have it in life. It's a medical condition where all of your organs in your body are on the opposite side. You can live. It's like, your heart is it's not on the left side, it's on the right side. Everything is reversed. You can live, everything is there working, but there's a real condition. It's a real condition. And I forgot what it's called. And Souther's vital points was on the opposite side of his body.
It's called situs inversus.
That's what it is. Souther had that, so nothing that Kenshiro did on him worked. Nothing he did worked. And plus, he was like super fast. So he like beat the crap out of Kenshiro. He beat him bloody. But, Kenshiro's the hero. He figured out how to fight him. He actually figured out how to fight him, and he beat him. But that's the condition. Souther was one of the most creative characters. I said, man, what the hell? He's touching him on his head, touching him on the forehead. Nothing's working. Turns out he had that condition. I said, oh man, that is like the greatest villain for Kenshiro ever. But Kenshiro figured out how to beat him. But that's why Rao didn't fight him. He was like, I ain't fighting this guy. Nothing we do works. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there it is. That's Rao. That's Kenshiro. Can you get a picture of Kenshiro versus Souther? If you could pull that up. I know it's short notice, but if you could pull that up. But this right here, this picture right here, is from the remake. They remade the manga. I believe this was like in the 2000s. But this like endless stories. There's a manga, there's anime, there's a whole bunch of things going on. But this guy is iconic. As a matter of fact, if y'all follow a channel called Death Battle, Kenshiro fought Jotaro Kujo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you're a nerd like us, you know what I just said. And Death Battle it's a fun channel. They always do these crossover fights, like who would win, you know. And Kenshiro, he beat Jotaro. He touched him on his forehead and killed him with a mere touch. This guy Kenshiro was like so badass. And I want y'all to I want to point something out. If you notice when you watch a majority of Japanimations, you notice that the main characters look like this. They look like Japanese men, masculine Japanese men. Think about it. Think about it. They look like masculine Japanese men. And this picture right here, if you look at it, does he not look like Sonny Chiba? Sonny Chiba was like a man's man. You know what I'm talking about? And if you think back, think about all the, like, for instance, G-Force, Gaicha Man, the leader of G-Force, that was over here, his name was Mark. He had like brown hair and bushy brows. He looked like he was the leader. If you look at Goku from Dragon Ball Z, although the character in Japan is voiced by a woman, look how he looks. Black hair, bushy brows. Think about them. Majority of them do. And all the villains, don't they look European? Blonde hair, blue eye. There you go. Right here. That is now I want you to keep this in mind right here. That character, damn, I forget his name, but he has arrows in him. And you see that spear in the middle? That spear was thrown by Salva. And that character's blind. He gouged his eyeballs out. And the reason, no, he like stabbed himself in the eye, so he's blind. He knew Kenshiro when he was a kid. I think he almost killed him. But when he realized that he was the successor to Fist of the North Star, to Hokuto Shinken, he didn't kill him. And I forgot, he made him carry a pyramid up to the top. And Salva killed him. And after this, Kenshiro fights Salva, and Salva kicks his ass. But I had to pull this up. Where is it at? Let me see if I can share this. They have a bunch of video games for Fist of the North Star, a bunch. And the first one that I had was for the NES. And it was pretty good. It was pretty good for its time. You know, it was an 8-bit system. When I got the Sega Genesis later on, the Sega Genesis had a game called Last Battle. And I'm playing this game, and I said, God darn it, I know this is Fist of the North Star. But for purposes of copyrights, I guess, they changed all the names, but I knew all the characters. And lo and behold, I'm reading in the magazine, and boom, it's Fist of the North Star. It's Fist of the North Star. There are so many characters in this thing. You know, an hour-long show won't do its justice. Nah, big homie Coop, that's not Ray. That's not Ray. I forgot his name. That's not Ray, though. Ray didn't die like that in the series. What happened with Ray is that, and I know I'm jumping around a bit, but it's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. I can't, if I had to go in order with this whole series, we won't get through the show. This looks like Ray, but it's not. I forget this guy's name. But Ray, he fought Rao, and Rao touched him. You understand? Rao knows the technique too. He touched him. And what Ray was doing, he was dying on the inside slowly. And what eventually happened was he blew up. But that was like over a few episodes. Because he couldn't stop it. Kenshiro couldn't hit any vital points that'll stop him. So Ray died a slow death. And he was doing something in the air, and Raul threw his cape at him, and he poked him with his finger, and that's how he got him. But my favorite Fist of the North Star adapt game is the 2D fighter that came out a few years ago. It came out for the PS2. There you go. That's Raul, and that's the brother Toki. That's Toki and Raul. Now, Raul was trying to conquer the world, but this scene right here, he was Kenshiro was fighting Sousa, and Raul was like, yo, he's not gonna beat him. He's not gonna beat him. And he didn't. The first time Kenshiro got washed badly. Nothing was working. And then you figured out he had that condition. You figured out he had that condition. It was weird, man. It was weird, but that was such a creative character. But Sousa was badass. What I want to do is I want to pull up. Let me go to I'm gonna pull up my shared screen. This was Fist of the North Star, the video game. If you could pull that up for me. This is there it is. This is all the fatal KOs. This is actually from the cartoon. They put it in the video game. We move it up. You were shot. They actually went and got the fair use, y'all. They got the voices of the actual actors to do the video game. Let me move it up. Cause you know they act real funky with this. That's Raul versus Ken. This is Kenshiro right here. It's one of my favorite. I still have this game. And that's Sousa right there. Let me bring this back for 1 second. Now, that character you just showed, right? Look in the background. This is actually, the boards are from the actual anime. That's the pyramid, and that's the character carrying that pyramid, the piece of the pyramid up to the top. When he got up to the top, Sousa actually killed him. But this is the actual board. This was crazy. That's Mr. Hart. Look. Now watch the countdown on the right side. He touched him. This is in the game, y'all. And when that countdown goes away, your character dies. So you gotta try and beat him before you die. It's like crazy. This is like the greatest game ever. I just want to get to this particular. Look at this. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Watch out! Listen, man. Listen, man. Listen, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. This game was like one of the greatest things ever made right here. This is the greatest thing. And they had key characters in here. They had a lot of this is Raul right here. They had moves in here from the actual goddamn series. I want to show you something. That part right there. That right there. That's actually from the series. That's the move. He threw his cape up at Ray and then stabbed him with his finger. And then he blew up later. There's so many like things in this game. They captured everything. Now the roster's not that big, but they had the key components in here. There's so many. There are so many characters in the actual Fist of the North Star universe, man. And Universal Truth. This is called Hokuto no Ken. It's for the PlayStation 2. I still have this game. I had the import. It didn't come out in America. I have the actual one from Japanese. I ordered it. I actually ordered it. And I had to do the flim flam with my PS2 so I can get it to work. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, this is like a great thing. But the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because you turn around and it's like, man, I had a love affair with this whole thing for over 30 years. Goddamn, 30 years. I'm a fan of this thing. I'm a fan of this thing, and from the cartoon to the models to the video games to the remakes, this is great. This is great, and it's an in-depth storyline. It's an in-depth storyline. You got everything you need. His best friend flips on him over a girl. Thought he killed him. He came back. His brothers are on some bullshit. Well, two of them are. The other, Toki, the one that looked like Jesus, he died from cancer. Because it was the nuclear waste in the air, and he actually killed him. So he was running around trying to save people, but he couldn't save himself. This animation has everything you need. And if you sat down, if you start from like episode 1, if you could find a box set, you won't get through it, man. Just go on vacation, lock yourself in your man cave, and just watch it. It's great. It's great. This guy, what do you say? You have the whole original series on DVD. Yeah, I got to pick that up because I never got it. They must have it on Blu-ray by now. But this is serious business right here. This is serious business. What I want to do is I want to find. Let me see. Fist of the North Star Genesis. Fist of the North Star Genesis. This was the Genesis game. I had this. This is the game I had for Genesis. But one of my favorite ones, like, you know what I want to do? Watch this. And Shiro versus Sauda. First fight. Nah, that's 38 minutes. I don't know if they're gonna let us get away. Okay. What you think, Stormy? We could play a little clip of this? What you think?
No.
Nah, let's not do it. Okay. Know what I could do though? Y'all see it here, right? Kenshiro versus Sauda, first fight. They got the remake right here, and they got the original. Watch both. Because Sauda kicks his ass. He couldn't do nothing with him. But goodness, man. Goodness. Man. Let me stop the screen share. But listen. I didn't realize how much of an impact that Fist of the North Star. Let me say this. Y'all hear this? Watch out! Y'all don't think Kenshiro was influenced by Bruce Lee? Looks like Sonny Chiba, influenced by Bruce Lee. You know what I mean? Kenshiro, to me, is iconic. That character is iconic. The series is iconic. And like I said, over 30 years. Over 30 years. I've had this affair with this this series. I know all about it. And like I said, if I went in order, we'd still be on book 1. So I had to jump around. It's very influential. When by the time the internet came around, if you Google it, everybody knows about it. All corners of the globe. You could put a picture up, everybody knows who this guy is. You understand? They even have a video game called Tenshinoku. Do y'all know about that? And they have all the characters from every cartoon, every video game in one game fighting each other. And Kenshiro and Raoh is in that game. Because they are that iconic. They are that iconic, man. But this is this. You know what? I'm off tonight. I'm gonna watch some tonight. Man. Listen, man. I just get excited about it, man. I get excited about it. What I should have did, and I didn't think to do this. I have, because they up in my storage. I have some models of Kenshiro, and I got Rao, but my boy got Salva and he got Shin. And they have the different removable hands and stuff. It's great, man. It's great. And I almost get butterflies when I talk about this series, man, because I know all about it. I'm that dude that you don't want to be sitting next to during every episode, because I'm that annoying dude. Like, oh yeah, this is the part where this happens, that happens. It's sort of like when you're sitting down and watching a Shaw Brothers Kung Fu show, a Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movie for like the 8 millionth time, but you can't never get enough of it. But that's how I feel about this series, man. It's just great. It's an in-depth story, and it has two parts, because the kid Bat and Lin, like after the first series is over, something else happens, and Kenshiro comes and Lin, they're teenagers now. You understand? So now he gotta put on the hood again and go into the wasteland. But I think what he did was he traveled overseas now, and there's like a whole new problem over there that he got to solve, man. And you're right, Village Brother. This anime, it inspired a lot of things. It inspired a lot of things after that, man. But this thing is iconic, man. Fist of the North Star is all too iconic. Yeah, you're right, David Scott III. He says, now you see who influenced Street Fighter, Ken and Ryu. Yeah. I'm starting to think that name Ryu is sort of like Johnson for black people's last name. I think that's like it's like a typical Japanese name or something, because I see it a lot. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, Fist of the North Star was like, it's iconic, and I never thought to get it on. It's probably on Blu-ray now. I never thought, because it's all over YouTube. I sit here and I watch all of these fights, man. And in that game that I just showed you, Hokuto no Ken for the PS2. I haven't seen it on the Play Store yet, because I'm not updated like all of y'all. I'm still on my PS4. I ain't get a 5 yet, but I don't see it in the Play Store. But in the event that y'all could find it, let me know, because I'll definitely download it, because I have it for the PS2, but at my PS2, I ain't connected in years. But I have the damn game. I have it right here in the drawer right here for the PS2. You know what I mean? But that's a great game. It's fun. It's, it's cel-shaded. Not cel-shaded, but you get my point. Looks like Street Fighter. They had tournaments of that game in the arcade in Japan. Tournaments. It's a great game, man. It's a great game. But Stormy, you there? Ask me anything. Anybody, ask me anything.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, man. Ask me anything about this.
I would say the influence of this is so heavy that even the modern day films like The Hunger Games and some of those stories like that, were similar and inspired by these type of films, because that post-apocalyptic world storyline, it gives you a way to play without boundaries, and it's like your villains can be almost infinite in what they're capable of doing, because the reality that we knew, the world that we knew, is now gone in these stories. So now it's something taken on. Like you were talking about one of the characters dying from cancer from the radiation fallout poisoning, and that's really an intelligent way of putting something in there about humanity. But at the same time, when you think about all the other characters who didn't suffer that fate, so have they been morphed and turned into something else due to, like, Godzilla was formed out of the hydrogen bomb blast. So, and look at the Shin Godzilla was such a updated form of it that when it got attacked, it got stronger.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Shin Godzilla is a bad mofo. If you guys haven't watched that film, it is really good, man. It is really good. We talked about that, but but again, getting back to the animes, that's what the influences can do and where the stories can go. You take certain context of what has transpired or what can transpire in reality and actuality, apply it toward that, and now you've got yourself a story that is through the stratosphere. Like I said, I just watched this the movie condensed version of this a few days ago, and I was just sitting there smiling with a smile on my face because the creativity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because see, you and I, we share that element in common, that we're both artists and we have an appreciation for that is not a subtle appreciation.
Absolutely. This is from the video game. I believe this should be safe. It's just a video game. This is the character Sauler. This is how he looks in the comic book, and this is how he looks in the anime. He rides around on this giant motorcycle, and he's the king. And this is, they captured in this video game every bit and piece of these characters in this video game. And that you got to watch to appreciate this game. You have to know the cartoon, the manga, that they did a live action of this. I don't really like it too much, but this is the gameplay from Hokuto no Ken.
お前の行進もここで行き止まりだ。でかい口を聞くようになった小僧。The time of retribution. Battle 1. Decide the destiny. なんとば飛び制圧ここまでだ。飛びなんとば制覇
Fair use.
先人たちよ時かラオウか
No better than that.
Battle 非常に関東法王権王位天正十字法 KO よしあなたの聖帝十字領は完成する Win Salazar.
Man, listen, they got all of the artists, the voiceovers from the original animation to do that game. There was a lot of work put into that. And like I said, if you're a fan of the series, you see every little bit and piece in that game from the anime, and it brought me all back. And I said, man, this is a great game, because not only do they have the actual actors to come back to do the voiceovers, but there are different things that the characters are doing that come from the cartoon, and even in the scenery. You say, oh man, this was the time when they did this, and that. The moves in that game, what they call what is it? When they looked in the air, they have something called Death Star, where you can I think something about dying. That's what I remember. It's about dying. And when you see it, that means you could die. Well, in the game, when you run off a combination on the character, you get that power up so you can do a master move. And all the master moves are something that characters have done in the animation. That's what made it great. that move he just did was like when he jumped on the top of the pyramid and he flew down. There was something called Firebird something, and he'll just burn your shit up. I mean, it was crazy. It's crazy. And Kenshiro does the 100 hit whatever. I mean, look.
Did you see the movie Kung Fu Hustle?
Yes. Yes, classic.
Do you remember that end fight scene where he went up in the air and he came down and his fist was glowing?
Yes.
And he came. That come from the games. It comes from there.
Yes. Man,
and then he left that giant palm print in the ground after he struck old boy, and it was like the yin yang symbol.
The yin yang, like Buddha, whatever it was, man. That was crazy. And he became the teacher.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Remember when he came out the room resurrected and he stepped on? Man, that was hilarious, man. I said, ooh, man. But you see, Fist of the North Star came out like in '83. You can see it's a lot of things past that. There's a lot of influence.
Yes,
a whole lot of influence, man. A whole lot of influence, man. And it all goes back to Bruce Lee because this character, he looks like a strong, manly Japanese man. You know what I'm saying? Looks like Sonny Chiba. But when you hear this, those are the cat noises that Bruce Lee makes.
Yep.
You understand? So everything comes back to Big Master. That's funny, man. That's funny, man. You know, this is great, man. I mean, you could look on. See, I got something else up here. He fought Shin. Oh, here it is, right here. Jotaro versus Kenshiro. We won't play that. Kenshiro versus Shin. PS2. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, remember I told you, all right, Shin, the way he died is he committed suicide. Him and Shin, after they fought and Ken beat him, he falls off of a building.
Let me remind you, use the terminology.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, we're on YouTube. I can't do that. He deletes himself. So he falls off of a building. I don't know why they would put this in the game, and I don't know why you would use this when you pick this character, but you know that move is in the game. You can self-delete yourself. It is the stupid. All right, Stormy, let me just show you, man. It's the dumbest guy. I said, why would they put that here? But it's here. Let me it's the stupidest thing. Yo, everyone in a group chat was like, why would they put that in the game? It's funny, man. There it is. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I don't know why they would look at this. And that's Yuria in the back. Why?
Fatal KO.
Why?
Win, Kenshiro. Perfect.
Why is that there? Why is that there? When I saw that, I said, this is the dumbest. It is the dumbest thing. I was like, why would they put that in the game? That is funny. That's funny.
Hokuto no Ken. The time of retribution.
The guy in the back
Battle 1
was cracking people's heads in the first in the series. And then they killed him. Man, I love this game, man. Man, I want to see behind the scenes on how they did this game. Voiceovers,
貴様の攻
animation,
撃は
everything.
欲望が足りんくせ。KO お前たち北斗神拳が何故一子相伝の最強の憲法かを
Oh
知
man,
らない。
that's wild, man. Let me
北斗七神どこから攻めて
yeah, this is great.
俺様より
Oh, that's another thing. He uses nunchucks.
北斗神拳が何故一子相伝の最強の憲法かを知らない。
He uses nunchucks, y'all. So you clearly see the Bruce Lee influence there. But I totally recommend this series. It's so fun to watch. The video games get you hyped. They also got a free roaming. They also, they got a free roaming game, and that takes, it's about, if you play it straight through, it's going to take you like a month to beat it. It came out for the PlayStation 2. No, PlayStation 3. But this series, I can go on and on and on and on and on about it. But you could look at the characters and just think about the animes that came out after that, and you can see all of the influence that this thing had. Matter of fact, if you look at Jotaro Kujo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, he looks like Kenshiro. They look just alike. That's the funny part. Hold on, I'm sending out this text. Yeah, man. So there's, again, y'all, if I went straight through and started from season 1, we'd still be on season 1, like episode 5. So I had to jump around, and I wanted to point out as many cool parts as I could. And I think it's important that we know that, like, some of the characters, the history of it, the influences, and they can make another one tomorrow if they wanted to. They can make another one tomorrow because that story never ends. It never ends. Evil never takes a day off. Never does, man. But that's great, man. And salute to everybody in the chat, man. I see a lot of y'all know. Y'all know about that.
Yeah, a lot of people have come in this evening to hear what you had to say about this series, because everybody, they're familiar with it,
Yeah.
They want to see what you got to say about it, which is very cool because, again, we talk about this. That's what this show is about. It's to make you have a feeling of your culture. This is something you grew up enjoying, attached to your youth.
Mm-hmm.
And for people like us who are no longer as youthful as we once was, but we still hold it close to the vest because, it was creative. It was a creative process. Before this, there was nothing like that.
Right.
You see, and you think about today's generation where creativity has basically been put on hold. Everything they want to remake or redub, even music and everything. They take an old song and sing over it with new lyrics and all of that kind of foolishness. It's like you don't understand what you're doing to yourself. You're destroying the relics of what made you once strong. You're supposed to use that as a foundation to stand upon.
That's right.
So that you can further ascend to the heavens. But again, when you don't know, huh? And that's one of the reasons why I say everybody ain't gonna make it.
That's right.
Because everybody doesn't have the DNA, the makeup to be able to not only just withstand, to persevere, to ascend.
Mm-hmm.
You use that metaphor about the flying phoenix moment in the show, but the fable, the story of the phoenix rising from the ashes, to be able to morph from what you once were into everything that is a possibility for you, not to say stay stagnant. This is what this is about.
Yeah, I tell people, man, embrace it. There should be no shame in how you grew up. No shame and what you did, as long as it was clean and it's a part of your childhood. Embrace your inner nerd. And let me tell you something. I don't know if today's generation have it like how we had it. You see, we were more creative back then. We had to actually use our brains to do things, whereas we have devices that do things for ourselves. Having to go to the library to look stuff up, you had to get up, take a shower, get dressed, go to the library, look for something, find it, and then retain that information. Y'all remember encyclopedias, dictionaries, and things of that nature? This is why the brain power is lacking nowadays. And I was always very creative. I draw, Stormy draws. I write stories. I wrote rhymes. I write poetry. I've done it all. I'm very creative. My dad, he's very techie. He can go under, like, not the newer cars, but under the old cars. He can go under the hood of an old car, and he just knows how to move things around and fix it because it just made sense to him. It's like Lego. The newer cars, you can't do that because everything's like computers now. But he's a tinkerer. That's the word he used. But when we do these shows, it's to help jog your memory. If you're younger, it's to motivate you to embrace and get in touch with your more creative side. It's if you're our age, again, it's really good to reminisce. And when you embrace your inner child, man, it keeps you young, because we deal with stress on a daily basis. There's not many people that says they have a job that they love. No, look, we just do it and it pays us, and we got to pay bills and we have to survive. But sometimes you need to get away from it. That's why we do this show. That's why I started Bear Cave. I'll be doing content coming August. I keep pushing it back, family, but just bear with me. I have 3 channels. Even with boxing, it gets a little annoying. It gets a little annoying with boxing. A little annoying. You know what I mean? And this is how you get away. We come here and we talk about the martial arts films. You see the Justice League in the back, the Marvel characters, cartoons and stuff like that. It's good and it's a healthy conversation. And tonight was my night, man. Fist of the North Star was one of a few animes that legitimately shaped my childhood. I was watching Fist of the North Star before Voltron. I was watching Battle of the Planets, G-Force, Gaichaman before Voltron, Speed Racer, this was before Voltron. And what caught my eye? Japanimation. I said, these are different in how they're often their enemies. It's very different. There were no parachutes when they shoot a plane out the air. You was dead or not. They didn't air a lot of Japanimation over here. This is new stuff now. We had to break Japanimation. They slipped through the cracks. They had to break down that wall. You understand? Now it's a free for all. You understand? But it's very important for us to be in touch with our inner child, just to let loose. We can't be like, oh, we're grown and we got, it's fun just to let some stuff out and talk about what you used to, enjoy as a child. That's why, y'all ever came across that one person, or I remember we was in school. This is way back. We was in school. We was in high school. Now, when you're in high school, you're done with playing toys and other things. But I remember we was in the lunchroom. We was talking about what we liked, the toys we had growing up. You remember this? You remember G.I. Joe? Not the small ones. You remember the old G.I. Joes? That was maybe about 9 inches high. Those guys, G.I. Joes. Remember those guys? And we in there, we all laughing. And there was this one girl sitting off, and she was just looking at the magazine. He was like, yo, what'd you play with growing up? My Little Pony or something? I ain't play with no toys. She was like, F that. I don't play with toys. You never play with toys? No. So she never played with toys. She never did double dutch. And well, what did you do? And it dawned on me, and I remember I was like, you know, she was always a miserable person. She was always a miserable person. We was like, nah, she had to have a childhood. Everybody played with toys growing up. It's a part of your childhood. Playing with toys. Do y'all understand? When you play with toys in your mind, y'all remember playing with toys? And you would imagine the toy that you had going through a situation and he had to fight the villain and do this and do that. And you're making the guy do the flip off the grandma's radiator. And then when your mama call you or your auntie call you to go do something, you're like, oh man, because in your mind, you have a story in your mind and they're disturbing you. They're disturbing your creativity. Now, when I got older and you wean off of the toys, I started writing stuff down. I started drawing. Well, I was always drawing. But then I started putting my stories, instead of playing with toys, you put your stories and you attach it to a piece of paper. What you start doing is, first, I started out drawing characters that I grew up, you know.
Speaking of drawing, let me share something with you because it was nearby, and I just thought I would grab it and show you guys something. This is like something from, I want to say 1990 when I did this, but this is just a little something to show you guys. Look at this. You see that?
Yo!
That's a pastel artwork piece that I did of Holyfield and Buster Douglas.
Oh, snap.
Many years ago. That's a picture I did.
Oh, snap. What'd you color that with?
Pastels. There's
pastels.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I would just share that with you guys.
Let me see if I can grab something of mine. Let me see if I can grab something of mine. Let me see.
I have one I did of Mike Tyson and Michael Spinks, and that was even better than that. But that was kind of like stored away. But this one wasn't very far away from me because I used to have it hanging in my home.
Right.
So, I just wanted to show people. So, yeah, Stormy used to have them skills that I could go out there and do stuff, man.
Let me see if I could, because I think I have my artwork handy on, let me see. I think I have my artwork handy on my desktop. Let me see. Normally I do. Where's that? Since we I don't know if I have it. Let me see. But like I was saying, it is important that I don't think these kids, only a handful of them today, they don't utilize those they don't utilize those creative skills that we used to utilize growing up.
No, man. But when you think about it, where will civilization be 50 years from now? With the lack of creativity, with the lack of someone using their mind to imagine, it's gone. People are brain dead, man.
Totally brain dead.
So when I say these things, I don't just be talking crap. It's not just the rantings of a guy that's getting older. It's like, no, I've been observing life my entire life, and it's like, it's troubling.
It's very troubling. And again, this is why this show right here is very important. This is why it's important. Because, we have to jog our memories, and it's relaxing. You see how excited I get talking about this? You know what I'm saying? It's relaxing to reminisce.
And what did I tell you before the show? I told you, I said, hey, you take the lead on this because you know and everything. There's no jealousy or nothing. This is like what we do. We're sharing something common that we can come together. Look at all the people that came out this evening to enjoy with us.
Ah, got it. Pull that up for me. That right there.
Yes, sir.
I did that in 1999 while I was at work.
That's tight, man.
Yeah, I did that. I did that old pen, and I was just drawing, and it just got better and better. I said, hold on a minute. So I just created, and you know what those are robots. You know what I called them? If you look up top, it's called boxes. The boxes. That's what I called them. And the guy that they beat the hell out of was named Timothy, with the N, T-I-N, Timothy. And I created a whole metal world. And I never finished writing the story. Everybody's made of metal and blood and metal. And I was creating a whole universe and a crisis, and Timothy was going to be the savior. But in this instance, all those guys caught him and beat the shit out of him. And I never finished it. I never finished writing the story. I still have it. I have characters written down, but the robots that were running things were called the boxes. And they caught him. And that's how I start a story. I just draw something and I just create a story around it.
I used to do that. I created my own comic books, and I had a, you remember the picture of Bruce Lee where he took, they were like pre-production photos that he took at the Shaw Brothers studio wearing the traditional Shaw Brothers outfits and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay, where he had the ponytail and stuff. Now, he never filmed any footage, but he did test screenings of, taking photos and dressed in the costumes. And that was just months before he died. I did a story, a comic book story with a main character that looked like him dressed in those type of outfits. And it showed him wandering through the wilderness and everything. And these wherever he was going, there was always some kind of bandits or something jumping out trying to attack him and stuff.
Wow.
And he was striking them down with those old traditional weapons and stuff. I was drawing that stuff way back then, man. And I'm talking about, I was like about 18 when I was drawing those. They were pretty tight. And I put them on these big index cards that like artists use in comic book studios when they sitting at the easel drawing.
Yeah.
So they were the large size. So yeah, I was doing all of that stuff.
That's why I want to retire, because that's my passion. I want to just like do things like that. That's what I want to do. Pull this picture up right here. This is for my wrestling heads. This is another thing I did at work.
Yeah.
It's another thing I did at work. This is all pencil, and this is all off the top of my head. I have a bit of a photographic memory.
Yeah, and I see how you messed all three of them in there together.
Yeah. And I was just drawing. I'm going to tell you how I started this drawing. This was on a Monday night, and I was working an overnight, and I went to work, and I had the paper, and I was drawing squiggly lines. And I said, this looks like hair. And then I just started drawing Mick Foley right there, Dude Love in the middle. And then on the bottom, I drew Mankind. And this is all off the tip of my head, y'all. I just drew it. And then I said Cactus Jack. And there was a guy that I worked with that kind of looked like Mick Foley.
Looked like him, yeah.
And I was sitting down at the table and I looked up at him once. That's really his face. But I said, he kind of looked like Cactus Jack anyway. That's really his face. And I just drew it. And I just scanned it, and I didn't even want to ink it. I just wanted to leave it the way it was. I didn't even want to ink it. But yeah, man, I got a lot more stuff, man. But like I said, man, we could do this all night, man. But you know, I gotta get ready to get out of here.
I talk about it, yep. But yeah, man. Final thoughts.
Once again, this is so relaxing. This is an outstanding show, Stormy, man. You know, we have fun here. I love reminiscing. I feel good doing it, you know. And there's a lot of other animes that we can cover. But Fist of the North Star is so vast that, you know, it's like, you know, we could sum it up like how we summed it up right now. Or if we went through a whole timeline of it, we'd have to break it down to like 10 shows, and we ain't gonna do that much. But I'm saying, man, you know, we could do another anime soon. But what I'm more excited about is show number 50.
Yes. Next week will be our 50th episode, and we will come back with a special benchmark 50, because it was 50 years ago that Bruce Lee passed away.
Yep.
And Enter the Dragon was released in August of 1973, 3 weeks after he passed, July 20th. And though July 20th is coming up fast this week, we will commemorate a little bit of the memory and legacy of him next week. Just talk about him a little bit on the surface, maybe a little more in depth about Enter the Dragon and what that film means, what the title of that film means. So make sure you guys tune in for that for next week, especially for you Bruce Lee freaks, as they used to call me when I was young. He's a Bruce Lee freak, you know. It's amazing how some things change and some things never change, but they want to label you, you know, because you may have some depth of knowledge of something or be into something. But that's okay, because as I've grown and learned about the internet and everything, I was like, man, there's Bruce Lee freaks all over the world.
Feels good, don't it?
Yeah. You know, but yeah, we're gonna get on up out of here. I appreciate everybody that came out and supported us this evening, man. And hit that like button if you're catching us on the replay. Please enjoy. This is what Nerds on Culture is all about. We're gonna move on. Appreciate everybody. The super chat that came in this evening. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.